So obviously there's a lot of attention for smartphone apps in dermatology. And recently we found that deep learning algorithms can be very, very accurate in, for example, detecting skin cancer. Now, what we're seeing is that there are a lot of apps being developed by app developers and also big tech giants such as Google, for example, and that they are being implemented in our healthcare system. So, for example, the country where I'm from, the Netherlands, an app for skin cancer detection that uses a deep learning algorithm has been implemented for roughly 35% of the adult population, which is a rather unique situation for our country. Now, what we bring to the table from Rotterdam, the Erasmus Medical Center, is that we try to provide an evidence-based background for this implementation. Because right now, we actually don't really know what happens when we implement this app. It gives patients, and actually not only patients, but the general population, the possibility to assess a skin lesion from home, right? So that changes the way how patients get into healthcare. So what we do is we validate algorithms. So we look at how accurate they are in detecting skin cancer. We look on a population level. So we work together with health insurers, big health insurers in the Netherlands, to look at what actually is the impact on a population level. So what happens to, for example, health claims? Does our healthcare system get efficient or maybe also less efficient? Now, and last but not least, what we bring to the table is also qualitative research. So we can quantify how well an algorithm works, but we also want to know how dermatologists and GPs and also the general population actually perceive a successful implementation of these apps. So we host focus groups and we try to identify those factors that can bring the implementation as a success to our healthcare system. Well, I think it's very good to know for the dermatology community that there are a lot of apps out there that are actually not validated at all. Studies that look at apps that are currently able, that you can download as a patient or a person in general population, we know that the average sensitivity, unfortunately, is very low right now for most apps. So you should be very cautious in endorsing these apps towards your patients. And if you see patients in your consultation room that use these apps, I think it's good to inform them about the upside, but also the downside of using this new technology. So right now, I believe that the dermatologists are not really included in this whole implementation. And that's striking to me because these apps play a vital role in the diagnosis of skin cancer. And if they don't work well, we let patients that have skin cancer at home while they should have attention from a dermatologist or a GP. So I believe that we should come together as dermatologists and maybe form a task force or maybe in an existing task force, guide this implementation towards the success. So that means that this European task force could go into contact with our health insurers, but also the app developers to guide them in the right direction and to implement and develop these apps according to the standards that dermatologists perceive as being appropriate. So what we're seeing is that also outside of the field of skin cancer, apps are now being developed that can, for example, give a differential diagnosis to patients. So if you ask me, I think this development will only keep on increasing and we'll see more and more apps out there. Now, I really believe that we can provide patients and people in the general population a high accuracy standard if these apps work well. But we need to make sure that they are actually up to our standards. So if you ask me, I think in the coming decade, we'll see more apps being developed and hopefully also being more accurate and being appropriately fitted in our healthcare system. So that's what I see for the future. So we know that patients, but also people in the general population are actually not that good in detecting which lesion needs to be assessed by a dermatologist, right? So that means that if we can increase that sensitivity, for example, well, we can catch more patients with skin cancer at an earlier time. So if you ask me, I think these apps can help patients in the future to detect skin cancer more early. But the pitfall here is that these apps don't work well and they stay at home. So it's a crucial balance to keep in mind. And I believe that we should be very cautious in moving forward with a fast implementation, but we should go for a slow but safe implementation. And then I think it can really benefit our patients and our healthcare system. In the Netherlands, we have the GP as gatekeeper towards specialized skin cancer care or skin care in general. And we also know that our GPs have a lot of work to do outside of skincare, right? So our GPs are unfortunately relatively overworked, which can also mean that patients may not get the attention that they need for their skin. So I'm also a big endorser of training our GPs to detect or to give them a better accuracy standard to help patients with skin disease. And to come back to the second question, I think that apps can really bring forward a sort of a democratization for patients with skin disease, because we can actually empower people in the general population to assess their skin in a better way if these apps work well. And there are also actually pitfalls, because we know that, for example, a lot of skin cancer apps are not made to be used for patients with a pigmented skin. And that's striking to me, because we should, everybody should have the same access to care. So we should never exclude people, for example, based on skin color. So that's something, it can bring a lot of positive to our healthcare system, but also negative things. Yeah. Well, I would say to the dermatology community in Europe, but also in the US, let's unite together and find a good path for apps in our healthcare system. I really believe that we can make this work together, and we should be there for our patients to not only implement these apps correctly, but also to make sure that they're safe for our patients to use. So we shouldn't let this be something that is being done by only the app developers and our health insurers, but the dermatologists should play a crucial role in this implementation. So that's my view on this, and the message to the dermatology community.